Oh, hey there. I know it's kind of getting late. I'm on a bit of a roll here, so I wanted to make another YouTube video in regards to hockey. Now, this was a subject I was ignoring, and I don't even want to talk about it. But the thing is, I put Brad Marchand on Boston Bruins jersey. I did this back in October. I talked about putting Brad Marchand on a jersey because the previous year he had a very successful season. He was a talented hockey player. And I more thought of the times when it was Vancouver versus Boston in the finals, 2011. I mean, he was known as an irritating player back then, and he most certainly is now, but for different reasons. I tried looking up when exactly Brad Marchand first had any kind of saliva transfer uh, from him to another hockey player. And I believe the first one was on November 13th, 2017. So that was after I had put Brad Marchand's name on the jersey that I purchased. Um, at any rate, even if it was before that, that wasn't the news feed I was receiving at the time. So, I honestly didn't know that he was like that. I mean, I had heard somebody say that he was the ambassador for the gay community, just like whoever it is on Vancouver, and every team has one. Um, I didn't put too much stock in it because I figured, well, whatever, it's just part of the modern day society and how they're trying to creep LGBTQRSTFV logic onto everybody. And I just figured that was them trying to creep into the industry. Um, I mean, he's obviously, not the first person to, say that they're homosexual in the NHL. There was Sean Avery, there was Yuri Toulouse, who played for Toronto. Sean Avery mostly played for New York, and he also played for Dallas, and they couldn't stand him, and they tried to get rid of him as fast as possible. Can't blame him for that. Like, I think that homosexuals should be allowed to play in the NHL if they can, if they can put up the stats and they deserve to be there based on their ability to play hockey. I don't have a problem with that, but obviously it shouldn't be transferred onto the ice. Now, the thing is, remember that the NHL is about entertainment, it's about sports, it's about ratings, it's about this and that. So, not to make excuses for Brad Marchand, but he may not be the gayest thing in the NHL. In fact, I really highly doubt he is. Um, because there are a few factors. For one thing, when the NHL said, "Oh, they're going to have a talk with Brad Marchand," um, and this was like after the third time he had saliva transferred from him to another player. I mean, the first time he kissed a Toronto Maple Leaf player, and I think he licked him again in the playoffs, and then he licked Ryan Callahan of the Tampa Bay Lightning. Um, the NHL said they were going to have a talk with him, and that's stupid people propaganda because if they had a problem with it, if it wasn't for the show and all that sort of stuff, for one thing, he wouldn't have done it because there would be a whole set of rules in the background that they don't talk about in public, saying you can't do this, you can't do that. Could you imagine if he had done that, as a hockey player back in the '60s? Uh, they would have took him out back and beat him senseless. if he just sporadically licked another player's face. And, to be honest with you, I can't say I'd blame them. Because, it's not like he got consent to lick the Toronto Maple Leaf player's face. I forget his name. I think he said he enjoyed it though, so okay, I guess he gets a pass there. But I don't think Ryan Callahan enjoyed it. I mean, I'm trying not to watch this news story. I didn't even want to talk about it. I mean, as it is, the Boston Bruins jersey, um, it's reminiscent of the 2011 Stanley Cup run. That's what I was thinking. That was my mindset when I had that jersey constructed and the name put on the back and the numbers. Uh, I rather doubt I will ever be able to wear that jersey in public again. Um, and that's too bad because Boston Bruin jersey is awesome. And, Brad Marchand has had a lot of good hockey games where he scored talented goals and he's been a pivotal player for the Boston Bruins. But homosexuality on the ice, I'm not for that. And as I was going to say, not to defend him, but the reason the NHL only started saying, "Oh, we're going to have a word with him 3 times afterwards," is because there were special interest groups within the NHL or that have some sort of connection or power within the NHL, but not necessarily associated with it, that are saying this is the way it's got to be, and they leaned on him because Brad Marchand has a wife. Uh, I know there's a homosexual term called, oh, that's his beard. That means that he's still homo, but he's got a wife. Um, that is a possibility. I don't know what Brad Marchand does off the ice. I don't want to know really. If he's a rampant homosexual, then that's his business. He can do that off the ice. I do not want to see that. And I don't want to see face licking in the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs. It's unsportsmanlike, it's disgusting, and it makes the sport look bad, and I don't support it at all. It's bad enough that, because I live in Vancouver, this is a Vancouver Canucks jersey, in case you're wondering. Um, that there's the gay pride thing, and the Vancouver Canucks are getting louder and louder about it. More and more players are walking through the parade and things like that. Uh, I don't think they were homos, but I don't really know. Uh, I did make that wisecrack about Eric Goodbrunson, but we'll forget about that for now. Um, anyway, so maybe it was for show. Maybe somehow they've put it into Brad Marchand's his what he has to get done is it's a token of I guess submission really to do what he did on the ice. Perhaps that is a possibility because one cannot instinctively think, oh, Brad Marchand's a rampant homosexual, because that may not be true. Uh, if it is true, then no defense for me. I won't, I won't try and say otherwise. Um, but I could see, business types being quite intimidating and being like, you're doing this whether you like it or not. And, you know, them's the breaks, unfortunately. Um, yeah, but getting into, Brad Marchand is not the gayest thing in the NHL. The NHL playoffs, from what we saw, most certainly he is, but behind closed doors in the NHL, there are things that go on. There are things that go on in every business, corporation, uh, like that stuff. It happens, and you know, there are extremely gay things that I don't have evidence for, but I have strong suspicion that they are more than probably happening. And one thing that people haven't considered is the perverted nature of the homosexual community. Um, and look, I only even know of this concept because I'm 31 years of age, turning 32 next month, or actually this month now. Um, but that's just it. A lot of homosexuals, they like butts, and they like to look inside butts. And I don't know why they would like doing that, but they do. And there were obvious, blatant uh, things in the media as I was growing up as a young person that kind of sort of told us what was going on. I watched Dragon Ball Z. A lot of people did. Um, first 50 episodes of Ocean Dub were amazing. Vegeta was boss in those. And then he became a whiny, oh, I gotta beat Kakarot. And he was always whining, and after that, and it was just like, it was nowhere near as good. Anyway, um, out comes a character named Cell. Essentially, he he drinks people or sucks them up a pipe that basically goes up his ass. We all saw it, and some people really get their rocks off on that sort of stuff. I do not. Um, that is you know, it's one of those things. Um, yeah, I mean, because the Dragon Ball Z, like everyone knew what it was when I was growing up, and it was on TV, and it seemed like normal. And the other example of where it's creeping into the media, where homosexuals are obsessed with butts, is Mr. Slave from South Park. I don't know when exactly he came around. I think I'd lost interest in the series at that point. I have bought a few of the newer ones, and they've got not bad episodes in it. But I mean, yeah, Mr. Slave, he has this thing where he sat on Paris Hilton, and also there's actually a video game where he does even more of that, and I didn't even go looking for that. That showed up on my YouTube news feed. Um, Probably would rather have not seen it, actually, to be honest with you. Um, well, so anyway, getting to my point, the probably the more gayest thing in the NHL than Brad Marchand, and I mean even more gay than if he was a face licking, cocksucking, uh, bum fucking, being bum fucked homosexual. Even worse than that is in today's NHL, and this is kind of fair, sort of. If they're paying you the big bucks, and even fourth liner, bottom six defenseman is making 500 grand a year. The thing is, when that kind of money is being spent on a person, they want to check them out everywhere. Every test has to be done. Cranial scans, X-rays, blood, urine. They want to know all of it. And there is a test that's more reserved for older people because it's genuinely not a problem for younger people. And that's, prostate exam with endoscopy. And they will want to look up a player's butt who is making 100 million bucks, like Connor McDavid. That is It's just a fact. They're going to check it out because although it's like it's an absurd number. It's like one in like a billion chance that a young person for no reason will get prostate cancer. It can happen, but like basically impossible. Uh, yeah. So that footage, I guarantee you, there is special interest groups that will want that video footage of any given hockey player, because I'm sure they all have to do it in today's NHL. They can't just, enter the NHL and not do that anymore. It's probably contractually obligated because obviously they can't invest $100 million on a player and not check everything out just in case anything is wrong. Like Sidney Crosby, for example, like they couldn't put that kind of money into him if he had anything wrong with him. And that part is understandable. But reality is, it's big business. And whether those individual hockey players know it or not, there are a lot of perverts in the world. These perverts have a lot of money. And they like gross stuff like that. Um, like, to be honest with you, I don't even, like, wouldn't even want to see inside of a woman's butt, really. Or, it's like slimy and gross, and like you don't think about that sort of stuff when having sexual relations with a woman, and yet, and no normal person especially would have those kind of thoughts about men. And as I said, the only reason I even know any of this is based on the historical timeline of which I was born and raised in. That's the only reason I know anything about that sort of stuff. And I don't approve. Don't approve. And it's not an easy subject to talk about. And nobody else I've seen has made a video about this. So, and I didn't want to make one, but I do have a Brad Marchand jersey. I've not made a lot of videos wearing it, but there is one or two of my other channels, and somebody may ask me questions in the future, and I just would want to be honest about it and be like, look, I had this jersey sewn up before he started licking faces, and I didn't know that was the path he was going to go down. And as I said, behind closed doors, whatever. An NHL player can do what they want, within reason, of course, and it's nobody's business. Um, However, I don't believe that conduct is fit for NHL hockey play, or even in the NHL sphere of propaganda. I don't think it should be a news story that's talked about. And as I said, you know, sort of defend Brad Marchand here. He is not the gayest thing in the NHL. It's the gayest thing that, the peanut gallery sees, but the people who actually make money and actually see the NHL for what it really is, and those are the stories I'm a little bit, wanting to be cognizant of. Of course, this is a negative story, and I don't like this one, but it's one that I've learned about through deductive reasoning. And it's really gross. I mean, Dave Chappelle one time said, "Oh, it doesn't matter if there's a picture of his dick or whatever, because if they cut off his dick and threw it with 100 other dicks, he wouldn't be able to, he wouldn't be able to pick out his one." I forgot. It was in his earlier years. Dave Chappelle said that. Something to the effect of. Anyway, so I've made a video talking about this, and I will not bring it up again. And the Brad Marchand jersey that I have is going into the Hall of Shame along with the fake Nick Foligno Columbus Blue Jackets jersey. Anyways, talk to you guys later.